evil's not hiding anymore. You know, she came to this country thinking she would be safe, and yet coming home from work, an honest job, someone slits her throat. Are you even willing to hold someone while they bleed out in your arms? Why aren't we more prepared? And what do we do to be more prepared? And I want to be very clear. I say this as someone that wasn't prepared. We are just now tapping the level of violence that's come into our country. We are headed that direction, whether people like it or not. So how do we create more bold, courageous men, and not little boys that shave, right? I mean men. Why don't you carry a tool? Why don't you carry a knife, a gun? Do you know how to pack a wound? Do you know how to use a tourniquet? Do you know how to do CPR? Do you know how to do those things? You don't think it's gonna happen to you until it happens. And it only takes one time for it to completely change your life.
The greatest act of love is sacrifice.
So on 9/11, what were firefighters doing? They were running upstairs knowing that they may never come down, right?
So what is your message to all the men out there? What is your challenge to all the men out there?
Yeah, I think the challenge is really stepping back and looking in the mirror and going, what am I capable of and what am I willing to do? The battle you're not willing to fight is the battle your kids are gonna have to fight.
So this is round 2, is our second podcast.
I guess we've done a lot of podcasts, just not recorded them.
Yeah, if people have seen the things that we've been through, and what are some of those things that you've been through? Like some of the deeper things.
Man, I mean, I'll tell you, seeing some of people's darkest sides and some of the things they've been through or done, is pretty incredible, right? And I think one of the biggest things is sometimes we discount the journey that people have been through, the struggles, the darkness. And sometimes people don't even remember that darkness. And you've seen that where we're working with people and we're working them through the process. And before you know it, they say something that they never thought they would ever say out loud or want to say out loud just because of the things they've said or done. And so part of the beauty of what we get to do is we get to free people from some of those things and have some of those conversations. But as we've seen here in the last few weeks or months, the evil's not hiding anymore. It's out in the open, and
that's good.
We're seeing it, and the basis around this that you and I talked about, and I posted a video about it, is just people don't even respond and react to some of these things that are happening. I mean, that sweet young lady on the train in Charlotte that just came to the U.S. seeking shelter from violence and had just gotten done waiting tables, gets on a train to head home, and she gets murdered. And the people, the 4 men and the 1 woman that are in the video don't even respond. Like, it's like they're so used to that violence that there was no response, negative. There was no action taken to try to help in any way, shape, or form. It's just that's the one. When I got back, I was on a 30-day hiatus around the world, and I got back and was fully refreshed and ready to kind of reintegrate back. That's the first thing I saw on my way over, and it was just so. I can't say anything other than it just breathtaking to see the lack of empathy and sympathy from any of those people, right? I literally have a screenshot of her face saved on my phone because my goal is to try to help as many people be able to handle that situation in a way where they're not going to be reactive. Because part of it is you can't prepare yourself to react to a moment like that unless you've already prepared ahead of time. Right? And so I think that's the big part, is we literally have to think through what we would do in situations like that before they happen and not try figuring them out in that moment.
100%. Yeah, we'll do a little intro. We got Giovanni Palavicini on here. Second time. We've gotten to travel the world together. I met you at a men's event, transformative event. Hated you at first. Now you're one of my closest people, mentor, father figure. Did I miss anything?
No, I mean, it's it's been amazing to see your growth and to see
Yeah.
you evolve into a passionate, bold leader. And I think that's the biggest part is how do we create more of that? You know, and there's a 20-year gap between us.
Yeah.
And so how do we create more bold, courageous men and not little boys that shave, right? I mean men, right? Just because you shave and you have a job and you live on your own doesn't mean that you're a man, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So what do you want to achieve with this conversation?
I don't know. We'll see where God takes it, but I think the
Yeah.
biggest part is addressing those issues, right? Is
Yeah.
what's holding people back from being prepared, from being decisive. And so I think part of the conversations is after that event, I had men start calling me and realizing that they weren't capable of reacting
Sure.
even in that situation,
Sure.
right? I don't have any tools. How do I respond? And I'm like, you don't need a tool to come to the aid of someone, right? And I understand no one wants to get hurt.
Yeah.
But I guarantee you the operator friends that we have that we run with and that I know, whether they be, you know, military, law enforcement, paramedics, firefighters, they don't run into the fire knowing that they're still boldly, courageously afraid of doing it.
Yeah.
They may be passionate about it, they may be committed to it, but they're not running into that completely calm and, you know, not realizing what could happen.
For sure.
And so I've gotten to have some of those conversations with some of those men, and that's the reality of it is you never get comfortable with doing that.
Do you think that things were different 40 years ago where men would have stepped up in that situation?
Well, without it, I mean, first of all, 40 years ago, we didn't have active cameras everywhere to see it.
Yeah.
And I think that's the situation we're in right now is, you know, take Charlie Kirk, take the Charlotte deal, take all these things. There's actually cameras filming. There's people watching it. And I think that's what makes it even worse. I mean, we've seen situations where people are watching violence and they're recording it rather than doing something about it. And so I think that's the problem. That doesn't relate to Charlotte because it was a camera it was a surveillance camera that filmed it.
Yeah.
But in so many situations, people would rather film the violence than do something about it. People would rather film people being assaulted or beaten or robbed or whatever the case is rather than stepping in. And I think part of the conversation is around why aren't we more prepared and what do we do to be more prepared?
Yeah.
And I want to be very clear. I say this as someone that wasn't prepared up until the last few years, right? As I carried a firearm, but I wasn't trained and skilled to use it. I could go to range and shoot down range at a paper target with no adrenaline flowing or anything else. And, you know, by all means, I was a great shot. But ultimately, when you stop and you realize that situation never occurs, right? Is there's heightened adrenaline. There is forces outside of your control that are basically things that are going to affect how you respond and how your body is set to respond.
Yeah. So what is your message to all the men out there? What is your challenge to all the men out there?
Yeah, I think the challenge is really stepping back and looking in the mirror and going, what am I capable of and what am I willing to do, right? Those are two totally different conversations. Is as men, we're capable of stepping in and doing something about it.
Yeah.
Regardless of what the situation is, regardless of what the tools someone else has, regardless of how many there are, we're capable of stepping in. So what's keeping us from choosing to step in?
Yeah.
Right. And if you stop in that moment, like I've had men go, well, I don't have a tool. Well, why don't you carry a tool? Why don't you carry a knife, a gun, you know, something that makes you comfortable in that situation?
Why don't you think men carry a tool?
Well, a lot of them don't know that they should carry a tool. Number one.
Yeah.
Number two is even if they do, some of them aren't even capable of even knowing how to use it.
Yeah.
Right. And, you know, you and I have the blessing of running with some highly violent men that are very well trained, way beyond anything that I've done and been capable of doing. But at the same time, you know, part of what some of us have is I'm stupid enough to think I can do something and make a difference. And so it's that fearless mentality. It's that I've played through those things, and anyone that truly knows me, and I just had this conversation with someone last week, they're like, that's what we're afraid of is, you know, that we know that you would run into anything like that.
Yeah.
And part of it is, and we've seen it over the years, right? We saw into 9/11. What were firefighters doing? They were running upstairs knowing that they may never come down, right? That situation happens. We've seen it in firefights. And one of my best friends who's SWAT and who basically said, look, are you willing to run into a firefight with a handgun with maybe one extra mag, and you know there's someone on the other end that has a long rifle that is a semi-automatic that has 30 round magazines, knowing you may not come out, right? I mean, are you? And let's even go to the most simplistic side of it. Are you willing to hold that young lady in your arms, bleeding out while you weren't able to get to her, whether because you were afraid to step in or because you didn't get there till late? But are you even willing to hold someone while they bleed out in your arms? And so to see that look on her face, completely devastated, completely surprised by the fact that she ran, she came to this country thinking she would be safe, and yet coming home from work, an honest job, someone slits her throat, right? And so there's people that aren't even willing to do that because it's not easy to hold someone while they're dying. By the grace of God, I've never gotten to see people die. But to hold someone while they bleed out in your arms is completely different. While they take their last breath because of something is different. And so I think those are the biggest questions that we've got to look back to your point. We have to look in the mirror and go, what am I willing to do? And what do I need to do? And in order to be capable and willing to do it, what do I have to go do?
Yeah. So the people out there would be like, oh, I'm a good church boy. I go to church, and the Bible teaches me not to be violent. So that's why I don't do these things. What do you have to say to like that person in that situation?
Well, the Bible doesn't tell us not to be violent, right? If we're being honest, I mean, what did Jesus do when he walked in and there was people gambling in the church? He flipped tables, right? So we don't serve this meek, passive, gentle God, right? We serve a God of fury. And I mean, look at the flood, right? Noah's flood. He flooded the entire earth because we were living this Sodom and Gomorrah world, right? We were, and that's part of it is we're called to be kind and loving and respectful. But that doesn't mean we're complacent. And I think a big word that people keep coming up with is there's so many people that are tolerant, right? We're not called to be tolerant. We're called to be bold and courageous and strong. And so I think that's where we get confused. And our church has become a bunch of Ned Flanders. And I think I said that on the last one, is a bunch of Oakley Dokley. We love people, and we're here to serve people, and we're here to tolerate people, and whether it's a color, a flag, or a religion, or all this stuff. And that's not me saying that we are racist or prejudiced or any of those things, but at the same time, if you're going to call yourself a quote unquote good little church boy like you used, what does that mean, right? And so Jordan Peterson's a good man is a capable man that chooses not to use that violence. And we've got a lot of men that live that every day, right? And some of them we're blessed to call as part of our brothers in our tribe. And there's some of us, and they continue training to become more capable, the same ways we should continue to become more capable. And so I think that's part of the idea is this, this medium shirt, skinny jean world that has become the church. I mean, you can call that a good Christian, but I'm going, a good Christian would have stepped up and done something in that situation, whether it be one, stepping up and trying to deal with the violence, two, at least come to that young lady's aid and trying to harbor some kind of what's first aid or overall, some type of, I mean, do you know how to pack a wound? Do you know how to use a tourniquet? Do you know how to do CPR? Do you know how to do those things? And then the third one is, are you even willing to step in and just hold someone, right? And those are three different levels of questions that people should be asking themselves.
And you could argue like the greatest act of love is sacrifice.
Absolutely.
Jesus on the cross, right? He sacrificed himself for all of our sins. So why wouldn't we go in there and step up and sacrifice if we're, Christian and we're living in Christ.
Well, it's fear, right? Is
Sure.
we've been raised in this fearful world where it's like, back to the point is, men called me, half tears, stuttering, going, I don't even know if I'm capable to do that. Well, I can already tell you you're not, is literally my response.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have picked up the phone and called me and been talking the way you're talking to me if you were. My question now to you is, what are you willing to go do to become more capable? It just happened last night. You and I were talking to Jamie about it, and we talked about this. And what did I do? I went to my room, and what did I do? I sent you a link to go do first responder training. And now the question is, it's on you whether y'all going to go do that, right? It's 4 hours to go figure out how to know what to do in that environment and not stop and go, I'm clueless, right? And I'll tell you, this well, is I had to stop and render aid twice last year to help people with a broken bone after a car accident. So literally had to do a tourniquet there. And then I was with Jordan in Northwest Arkansas, and the same thing. Some young man got hit by a car on his bike, and when I got there, the car was still on his leg. And so had to render aid there. And I can tell you, was I fully prepared? No. I can tell you the first tourniquet I did was completely wrong. Right? And it wasn't even, I didn't even have a tourniquet. I used a shirt and some random stuff. And I did the best I could in that moment. But you know what I realized is I'm not prepared. Right? I don't have what it takes. And so by the time we got to Northwest Arkansas, it was a completely different situation. Was I fully prepared there? More than I was the first time. But I can tell you now, a year and a half out from that moment, I could be way more productive now because I actually carry a tourniquet, multiple tourniquets everywhere I go. I have a full paramedic first aid kit in both cars. And even like when I travel, I have it in I have a reduced amount, but it travels in my backpack on the plane along with one tourniquet, and there's more in my suitcases. So I have it in my rental cars or whatever the case is. Hopefully I never have to use them again, but at least I'm prepared now, because I wasn't as prepared before.
I mean, and something had to happen for you to have that realization.
Right.
So people are watching this podcast, but are they really going to be inspired to go out and do those things? I don't know.
Well, if what happened in Charlotte, what happened to Charlie Kirk, what happened in Dallas just recently with the ICE shootings, if all the violence we're seeing, right, if the things we're seeing in Europe with some of the Islamist, overall.
That's a great question. Like, what are the threats in right now?
All you have to do is look at the internet, right? That's the saddest part about it. Scroll through Instagram and you get plenty of threats, right? And it's no longer.
Well, that's an interesting point, because not a lot of people's feeds look like yours, right? You're a conservative from Texas, 40-something years old. You're into guns, right? Your feed's going to look like that.
Yeah. But at the same time, I would be very surprised if there's people across the country or the world that don't know Charlie Kirk's situation.
Oh, well, sure. Yeah, that's
don't
different.
know.
That's different.
The Charlotte
those
deal.
two incidents, I would say, pretty much everybody.
Right, and that's my point, right? That should be, I'm very clear about it. My defining moment was in May 2023 when there was the shooting in Allen at the outlet mall, in which a guy showed up with a long gun. And I found out that, number one, there was a guy that literally has on his camera, has the shooter in the front of his camera on his car, and he backs away rather than plowing through the guy, and he would have stopped any chance of that threat. Because he hadn't even taken a shot yet. Two, found out there was people that were concealed handgun carry licensees that hid. What is the point, right? The point is, yes, to keep ourselves safe, keep our loved ones safe, but as a man, what we're called to do is we get our loved ones to safety, we make sure they're safe, and then we run into the fight, right? And so that's part of it, is why are you carrying, right? And that's part of it. I can't tell you how many men I talk to that I'm like, do you carry? Or do you have a gun? Yeah, not all the time. Okay. Is it loaded? Well, no, I don't keep one chambered. You're going to stop and be like, wait, let me chamber something. Or, oh, I keep it in my glove box. And I still remember, I mean, these are all learning lessons. I mean,
I relate to that a little bit, because you keep one chambered and you're like, well, I don't know if I hit it. Like, is it going to go off, right? Like, those things go through your head, right? Especially when you're first starting out.
Well, and I think the question is, are you carrying properly, right? I know I know that the holster you're using, I would never use, right? I took your gun out yesterday to check it, and I was like, oh man, I would never use this, because even putting it what I thought was right, the trigger was still exposed, right? And so there, your job is to find the right equipment that you're comfortable in. I mean, I can tell you, I stick a gun every morning down the front of my pants. I appendix carry, and never do I think twice about, oh my gosh, this gun could go off.
Yeah.
And it's not because I'm not safe about it. It's because literally I check it before. I make sure that it's in a safe
Preparation,
position.
protocols,
Well,
reps.
I've done it enough times, right?
Yeah.
And same thing with my knives. Same thing there, right? Is going, and again, I'm doing all this as I'd consider myself probably a novice plus or an intermediate, right? I'm not a Navy SEAL. I'm not a SWAT guy. I'm not some of the guys that we run with that are training people.
Yeah.
But I'm far enough along that I'm ahead of a lot of people on top of my hunting and everything else I've got to do there. And so everything I'm saying isn't from this basis of, look, I've served overseas and I run the streets, you know, in a patrol car. It's from someone that's had to learn it, and I'm just passionate about it because I've invested a lot of time, energy, and effort, but people invested the time, energy, and effort into me and asked me those hard questions. I mean, some of the people that, you know, I've trained under, literally the first question is, are you ready to take a life if you need to? And I'm like, yes. And I'm like, wait, someone actually answers no to that? And that the point is, if you're not, then why bother? Why bother going through the training? Why bother carrying a firearm? Why bother even doing that? Because if you're carrying a tool and you're not willing to use it, most of the time it's going to end up being used on you, because you take it out with no intent of actually doing anything with it.
Right.
Or you take it out and you don't even know how to use it, so it gets taken from you. And so, I mean, I think that's the biggest part. Full circle back to your question is, you know, we need to look in the mirror and go, what are we capable of, and what are we willing to do? And those are two totally different things. And you don't have to be the most capable person to try doing something, right? But you certainly have to be willing to do it. Those are two different things. I mean, you and I both know there's people that are incredibly capable that are probably unwilling to do what it takes.
Yeah.
And so I think those are the conversations that need to be had, right? Those are the things that we need to be discussing, that pastors are afraid to discuss, that, you know, most people are afraid to discuss because it's a scary thing to think about, right? And I can't tell you how many people I'm like, well, I saw the video once, but I couldn't see it again.
Yeah.
And
Can't
people,
even watch it.
Well, people could, I mean, they may say that I'm an animal. They may say that, you know, I am emotionally disconnected, but I've watched those videos dozens of times at this point because I'm assessing what could have been done differently. How did it get there? What, if I were in that situation, what would I have done?
Yeah, that's my next question. So I want you to like imagine yourself like walking on this train. You sit down, and then you see the girl come sit, and then you see the guy who killed her come sit. What are you observing? How aware are you? Why are you aware in that situation? And then what do you do when the action goes down?
Yeah. Well, the first part is he was already on the train, right? So we'll even start with her situation.
Okay.
It all starts with situational awareness.
Yep.
Right. And so it's funny. I was having this conversation with a buddy of mine the other day, and he said, well, I was talking to my son, who young 23-year-old, carries occasionally, not always chambered, not trained. And he said, I was talking to Joseph, and Joseph basically said, I mean, I would never sit in front of a person like that, right? He looks suspicious, all these things. And I'm like, well, let me ask you a question. And again, this is training that's been put on us. I said, well, when was the last time you used a urinal? He goes, wow, he was just at the college football game yesterday. I'm like, I guarantee you he stood at a urinal, it was no one had his back. He couldn't see behind his back. What do you mean? He had no control over who's behind him at that point.
Yeah.
You know, and so
you
that's
don't
the
use
first
urinals
part.
at all?
Excuse me?
You don't use urinals at all?
Especially not if I'm carrying, but under most circumstances, no. We have been taught that you go into a stall and you close the door behind you and you do your business and then you walk out, right? Because you don't have to worry about who's got your six, what's behind you. And I mean, I think that's the hardest part, right? Is that young lady didn't know that there was a threat there.
Yeah.
Right? It's not like there was an altercation and then she got on and something happened.
Yeah.
So first of all, it's self-awareness is key, right? So when we get anywhere, that's the first thing we're looking at. We're assessing the entire room. We're figuring out where are the exits, where are the threats. If there is people already in there that are a threat, then okay, where do I put myself in a position that I can either move out of the situation or put myself in a situation there if something happens, I can do something.
Yeah.
And that's the first part is what do people call a threat? Well, you got to use your intellect, right? You got to use your social and psychological skills, right? And we've been able to do that a long time. And luckily for me, after 16 years of coaching and seeing people, as you well know, I look at people's body language. I look at all kinds of things. What are they wearing?
Yeah.
It's not as simple as just going, oh, that person looks this way. They're this color or they're this race. Or it's a whole lot more than that, right? So that's the first part, because if that threat's not on, what do you do? Can you see the threat come in, right? Can you see the doors? Again, we've been trained to do that. The most capable person faces the doors.
Yeah.
And it's their job to let the rest of the team know if there's something that needs to be addressed or they need to be alert.
Yeah.
The second part is going, what to do when a threat walks on, right? You have to make that choice at that point too, is do you move? Do you shift? Do you adapt? What do you do differently? And then back to her point is going, she got on and there was no situational awareness. She sat at the closest seat, wasn't aware of who was behind her. The guy was suspicious to begin with, had a hoodie. Had a hood on, all kinds of stuff, right? And she clearly stood out. And again, people are going to call this racist. It's not racist, right? She was the only white person on the train that could be seen from that shot.
Yep.
And again, it's not about the color and the race. It's just understanding. You and I just went to church yesterday, and you're like, how'd you know you were going to get called out? I'm like, because I stood out the minute I walked in, just by my mere presence, but also where we sat and, other things,
the
right?
mustache.
The amazing mustache. But I think those are some of those things that we have to be aware of, and people have to learn when they step into these situations. Is the first part is self-awareness, right? And then the second part is how do you adapt when things happen, right? And so obviously I wasn't there, so it's easy to go, in retrospect, I would have done this differently. But I've been in places where I'm watching certain things that are going on, right? And I think that's the biggest part is when she walked in, how did that gentleman behind her, who's not a gentleman, respond, right? What did he do? You have to, you can't pull out a knife and open it up without seeing what's going on, right?
Yeah.
And so how do you interact in that moment? And then how do you respond from there? Because again, the minute he stood up and moved, you should have been responding in some way, shape, or form because you're aware, right? Too often we're sitting there with our headphones in, looking down, eyes closed, all those things. And there's a time and a place, right? A train in the middle of the night is not the time or the place to lower your guard.
Yeah.
Right?
So say you're sitting right to the right of that situation.
Yeah.
You see the guy open his knife. What do you do then?
You're reaching out and trying to stop the threat, right? The first thing you got to do is you got to stop the threat and try to get the knife out of his hand. You're using your own tool to respond to that. As Harley says, words get words, tools get tools, fists get fists, right? And so you're adapting to those things.
So
right?
you didn't have any tools on you. What would you do?
The same thing, right? And again, you're trying to get that knife out of his hand, and you're trying to take the tool from him so you can utilize it or at least take it away from him. But again, it goes back to...
If you had a knife, do you stab him in that situation?
Is he a threat?
Yeah.
Yeah. Tools get tools, right? But part of it, too, is it just goes back to you've already played through your mind that when you're running, when someone's running into the fire to pull someone out, they're not going, well, the fire's hotter than I'm not carrying water. I'm not carrying a fire extinguisher. You don't care, right? You're trying to help someone. And so in that moment, you've already made the decision ahead of time that you're willing to lose your life or get hurt by helping someone like that.
Yeah.
That doesn't play out in that situation. It plays out way ahead of time in your head. And as little boys, we all grew up with that, right? Did we basically hide that? Did we stow that away? What did we do with that? Because every boy's dream, right, as we joke around, I love the meme that shows the way a woman dies versus the way a man wants to die. And a man always wants to die going into battle, going in to save someone, going in to save something with a purpose, right? That's what was put on our heart. And so we want a battle to fight. The question is, have you stepped into it or have you run away from it? Are you afraid of it? Are you prepared for it? Are you willing to? Those are all conversations that we need to have with ourselves ahead of time. And it seems drastic to people, but you don't think it's going to happen to you until it happens.
Yeah.
And it only takes one time for it to completely change your life, right?
Yeah.
And so it's how do you adjust and adapt to that?
So say I'm listening to this podcast and I hear what you're saying, but I know I'm not willing. What do I do? I'm not willing, but I want to be willing. What actions do I have to take?
Well, I mean, I think the challenge I would give you is there's a difference between being willing and capable, right? And so, in my opinion, the people that aren't capable aren't going to be willing, right? I think that's a for sure one.
Yeah.
But the willingness is you got to step back and go, what's keeping me from being willing? Because this is not, the willingness to me is not a physical thing. It's an emotional and psychological thing. Mm-hmm. And so you got to step back and be, what am I afraid of, right? Like for me, if you gave me the option to go to heaven right now, I would take it right now in this very minute.
Yeah.
No questions asked. That's what my ultimate goal is to get to heaven.
Yeah.
And so, are there things that I think I would miss out on, or the things I want to enjoy? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, that is my goal. And so the willingness part is we got to step back and go, what is holding me back from the willingness? What am I afraid of? What's there? And so you've got to deal with that before you get there, because then comes the next question, right? I told you the first question they ask is, are you willing to take a life?
Yeah.
Then the next part is, let's make you capable to be able to do that if you need to do it. And hopefully we never need it. And hopefully none of us ever have to pull out a firearm or a knife and use it in any type of violent situation.
How did you get to have that mentality that you're willing to take a life and you're willing to die?
Well, the hardest part is I've always had the willingness mentality.
Yeah.
It's just, but that's God's instilled in all of us, right?
Yeah.
We all want a battle to fight as men, right? We all want that. The question is it dormant or not? Have we fed it or not? But for example, I didn't shoot a gun till I was 31, right? I have an amazing father that taught me how to be a good person. He didn't teach me how to be a good man, right? And from that standpoint, I mean, he didn't teach me how to work on cars, how to fish, how to hunt, how to be violent if necessary, any of those things. And I want to make sure that people understand violence doesn't mean you're out hurting people because you want to. It's because you're capable of doing it. Yeah. Or you can hold your own. And so, again, I think those are the questions that we got to ask ourselves is, and like I said, I was 31, I'm 47 now, right? And this has been a deep dive into 15 years, 16 years of learning how to hunt and, how to skin an animal and how to do all that stuff. I mean, as you well know, I just got back from South Africa and, it was amazing, right? We, between Nick and I think we ended up at 14 animals or something like that. It was amazing. But again, that's what's instilled in us, the ability and capability to go and provide, because people are like, oh my gosh, you went and killed animals. No, I went and provided a lot of meat for a lot of villagers in South Africa that I paid for, right? I was able to provide for a guide and his family and his team to be able to make a living doing something they're passionate about. Every animal I took is going to be brought back as a trophy or a rug or something, right? And so we're not throwing that away. It's being utilized, right? But I had to learn that 16 years ago, right? By not being afraid to pull the trigger the first time. And I still remember, I just had this conversation with someone in Samoa because he asked me, how do you take a life of an animal? And I said, I still remember shooting that doe the first time. And as I was walking up on it, which you just got to do last year, so I'd love to get your take on it. Yeah. But at the time I had a 105-pound chocolate lab that I was like, all I can think about is Dago as I'm walking up on this animal. And in that moment, my father-in-law was able to teach me to step back and be like, you know what, this was given to us by God, right? We're using it, right? We're not just killing it to kill it. I got to go back to camp and, hang it up and learn how to skin it. Funny enough, I was halfway through cleaning it when I realized I was wearing my $8,000 Breitling watch because I didn't know any better, right? I'm sitting there like, how do I get blood and guts out of this bezel, right? I was clueless. I was absolutely clueless. And I still remember him sitting there being like, you don't want to cut the stomach because you're going to throw up. But I had to be willing to step and take that step. And I had to have someone willing to share that with me. And I mean, that's part of what I got to share with you last year and why I have the hunting lease is, I mean, last year was able to get 4 new hunters to take and harvest an animal and experience that. And I still remember, I was like, bro, this is not going to be comfortable. I don't expect it. And you're like, you know, and we're not used to that, right? Getting our hands up to our elbows in blood and guts and nastiness. But I had to go through that in order to start my journey. Right. But I'll tell you, before that, I was always the person that would stop and help someone in the middle of the night to change a tire. I was the person that would literally take the blazer off my back to put out a fire on the side of the road. I always did that. And it was funny because my parents and my sister and my loved ones would be like, Giovanni, what do you do that? Why do you do that? You're going to get hurt. What if someone's trying to do, and I'm like, if this was you, I would want someone to stop. So how can I expect someone else to do it if I wouldn't do it myself? Right. And so I've leaned into that my entire life, you know, and the difference is between changing a tire and putting out a fire to now, you know, carrying a firearm, carrying multiple knives with different needs and uses each, to, you know, being able to use a tourniquet or to pack a wound or have the tools to do that. Those things were all different, but it had to start somewhere, right? For me, it started at 31, right?
It had to start somewhere. Yeah, so I think like people listening, like, where does that start for you? Because I feel like people know. Like maybe it's joining an MMA gym, maybe it's going to shoot and gun for the first time, maybe it's going hunting with your uncle, whatever it is.
Well, I'll tell you, it starts with a conversation.
Yeah.
It's reaching out to someone that you know is capable and saying, what do I need to do, right? And that person helping you the same way as, you know, at 1:30 at night, I went back to my room and I took my phone out and I literally packed, I literally scrolled, you know, first responder trauma response class, and I copied it and I sent it to you and Jamie, right? It took me 30 seconds to do, right? And so that's, the people that are capable know where to look, right? And, you know, I think that's the biggest, there's so many resources out there now, more than ever, right? There's classes being taught in every city across the entire country of, you know, some type of first aid, first responder. I mean, we're seeing more and more classes being taught. And when I say classes being taught on firearms, I don't mean going to the range and shooting down range. I'm talking about like legit learning how to fight under duress, to be able to address malfunctions in your firearm, things that happen in an everyday basis, so that when it does happen, you know, our tribe calls it burning reps. You got to burn the reps in order to understand what's going to happen.
It's literally the only way.
Well, there isn't. And it's not even until it happens that you even understand it, right? As I can tell you, you know, the 2 times I had to, you know, do the tourniquet, I literally, one of them, I swerved across 4 lanes because the accident had just happened and then ran over there, right? And is your heart rate elevated? Of course. I've swerved across 4 lanes on a highway, but was I scared? Was I concerned about being there? No. I mean, it was actually that first time was the first time I've ever seen a compound fracture. And I played sports my entire life. Her ankle was hanging out. And her boyfriend was running away throwing up because he couldn't see it. I'm like, really, bro? I literally turned her at the end of it. I was like, when the firefighters got there, I said, and you need to find a new boyfriend. And I left and I walked away. But I mean, I think that's part of it is, are you ready to respond to it? You know, I guess it would have been 2 years ago at the Texas Fair, we literally had just gotten there when everyone started screaming, running, and they shut the doors in the building we were in, the metal building we were in, because there was a active shooter. And so in that moment, literally was the first time where I was like, wow, this is crazy. My heart rate did not elevate. I literally calmed everyone down around me. I'm like, there's nowhere where you can go. You don't even know where the threat is. So just stay in place. The firefighters, the law enforcement, whoever needs to come will tell us what we need to do. And I mean, there was a guy having a panic attack there with his entire family. There was people, I mean, it was people calling their parents. And I'm just like, just take a deep breath and calm down, right? And it's only because I had done enough training to be prepared in that moment. Is it because I've been in that moment before? No, never. Never had I been in that moment before. And so I think, once again, it's just putting yourself in enough discomfort to even know how you would respond.
Yeah, a lot of people never even threw a punch or took a punch.
Yeah. And a lot of people don't even know what to look like, right? It's just, it's funny. I posted something on Instagram the other day that said, the worst type of person is the person that gets punched and didn't even realize there was going to be a punch thrown.
Yeah.
And so I think that's just it, is even some of those conversations is going, I mean, almost like how dramatic is it to some people that I and others go into a stall to pee because we don't want someone standing behind us or walking behind us or anything else, right? And sometimes it's very inconvenient when you got to wait for a stall.
Sure.
Or you have to find somewhere else to go because you don't want to be in that kind of compromised situation. You don't want to be vulnerable in those situations. Or you wait for a buddy, you're like, hey, you go piss first and I'm going to stand here and make sure that I got your back, and then you switch. And so that's just part of it, is you have to prepare for these situations. You got to think through them because in the moment is not the right time to do it. And it's funny because I'll tell you, there's people probably listening to this rolling their eyes being like, that's stupid, that's dramatic, that's overkill. It only takes one time.
It really does. Yeah, so I'm just trying to, because I've had a couple of situations in my life where like there's a fight breaking out in front of me, or like someone hops out of their car in road rage. And like that feeling you get, like that adrenaline rush, like it's something you never really felt before, and you just try to react the best you can, and like your brain's not really working. How do you deal with that? Like say like this is gonna happen for the first time for someone. Like how do you prepare them to deal with that in the best possible way for the first ever time?
Well, to begin with, is you have to put yourself in that scenario of having the heightened number one, self-awareness, but the heightened overall chemical flow through your body, right? Is we all get that adrenaline rush, right? You get that endorphin kick. And there's men that literally I've had a conversation with, they're like, I can't carry a firearm because I can't control my emotions. Great self-awareness. I think it's absolutely horrible. Let's get you to the point where you can. But I'll give you a great example. Live example that happened to me is same thing that happened in Dallas, down the street from my neighborhood. The guy in front of me stops and he pulls out and he starts walking towards me and he's yelling at me and all kinds of stuff. And literally I've got a firearm in my cup holder. And so all I did was I put my truck in reverse. I slowly backed out and I went the other direction. Right? So many people would get out of the car. So many people grab the gun. The first thing is self-awareness. The second part is your goal is to never be in that situation 100%. And remove yourself from it.
100%.
Right? Our goal is not to fight. It's not to take out a tool. It's to de-escalate once this situation occurs. And so in that moment, what value was going to come out of me rolling down my window, exchanging words with him? What value was going to come out of me grabbing my gun and holding it on my dashboard so he could see it? What value was going to take me getting out?
Exactly.
It doesn't help because I don't know what if he's got a firearm? What if he's got a knife? What if the passengers have knives or guns or any of that stuff? Now I get out and I put myself in a compromised situation.
Someone's probably gonna die.
Multiple people get out. Someone's gonna get hurt, right? And even if it's not me, now I've still got to answer to the police officers. I still have to go through the legal trial. I still have to go through all those things, right? And it's going. The goal is to escalate these situations. What we're talking about is the times you can't, right? Like the train in Charlotte. You can't avoid that. It's sitting right in front of you. And so you got to deal with it. And so the idea behind what you're saying is we have to think through these things, but also things are going to happen. It's funny that Jordan was like, Jordan and I were literally talking about how do you put yourself in these situations when that person got run over by that car? And it was like it's just one of those things that I think part of it too is the self-awareness. How many people are looking 150 yards down the road and see it actually happen and are willing to stop and do something about it? How often do we just keep on driving? I can tell you no one else. There was one other person that stopped in that first situation, and luckily it was a nurse that was able to keep the young lady safe calm until the firefighters got there. And I was like, all right, I've done my part. Now you do your part. And so I think that's just it, is if not you, then who? Right? And it doesn't mean that you're always the most capable, but certainly you may be the most willing.
Yeah. I mean, you're one of God's soldiers, right? He's going to put you in those situations. It's kind of how I mean, it could be spiritual, it could be coincidence, but
I think it's all of us, right? I think that back to your point, I think God puts us in paths where we're capable, and He knows that we're
Yeah,
going to step in and do it.
he knows who's willing in
Yeah.
that situation, and you were one of the people that were willing.
100%, right? And I
Yeah.
think that's part of it.
And I think that's why you're in so many situations like that.
And we all should be, right?
Yeah.
By the grace of God, put us all in that situation where we're willing to step in, because unfortunately, you know, this is a taboo subject, but I don't even think we are just now tapping the level of violence that's come into our country, right?
Yeah. I mean, I hope you're wrong.
But again, let's
Right.
look at facts. Look what's going on across Europe. Look what's going on in Australia. Look what's going on in other parts of the world, right? Certainly parts of Africa and Middle East, right? We are headed that direction, whether people like it or not.
Yeah, let's talk about what are some of the main threats, like here in the U.S. and violence. Like we're talking Islam, we're talking gangs, whatever.
Well, we don't even have. It's funny. I've been saying that you touched that. I've been telling people we're not even at sleeper cell Islam yet.
Yeah.
That level's not even started here in the U.S. yet. I mean, it will. You know, like we're seeing in other parts, right?
People have no idea, like the radical Islam that's trying to take over the whole world.
Exactly. And they're verbal about it, right? This isn't some secret. Like literally they will stand at a podium in the US, in America, in Europe, and they literally say our job is to take over all Western civilization and to have Islam be part of every home. Right? And again, I want to be very clear that, I mean, there is great Muslim people.
Sure.
There is great believers that I think are good people.
Yeah.
But the faith is a radical faith. Hands down, if you haven't read the book, read the book.
Yeah.
They'll tell you, right? And so that's, and again, back to it, we're not even at that level, right? So right now the threats are in our streets, in our malls, in, you know, public transportation, you know, that's where it's at, right? It's not, I mean, I mentioned Allen, right? That was an outlet mall in the middle of the day, in the suburbs of Dallas, Texas, right? I mean, it's, you don't have to go to, you know, the blighted suburbs of Chicago or Section 8 housing or low income. You don't have to do any of those things. I mean, it can happen anywhere, anytime.
Sure.
And so that's the biggest thing is I think people have become desensitized, but I think the other part is people have become way too casual in settings which they think they're safe.
Yeah.
And the reality is we're not safe anywhere. That's just, I mean, look at our churches, right? I mean, we've had, how many church shootings have we had where people are like, oh, this is where I should be safe. No, we're not safe there, right? Movie theaters, right? Where you're there relaxing, watching a movie. That's been going on for years. Our schools, right? I mean, there's just places that there isn't a safe place anymore. Yeah. The question is, are you prepared, and are you always prepared, right? And are you willing to be inconvenienced to be prepared? Back to your point of what, you know, am I comfortable with how I'm carrying my firearm or how I'm carrying my knife? I mean, for me, it's going, as much as I travel, is going, do I want to get to the airport an hour early to check my bags because I'm having to check in tools and then arriving and having to wait for my bags? I mean, prior to the last few years, I don't check anything anywhere because I never know if my bag's going to arrive and I don't have time. Typically, I'm trying to run a meeting. But it's got to the point where I have to be inconvenienced in order to feel comfortable and safe and have those around me feel safe. But how do we adapt to it? Like, you're rarely see me with a tucked in shirt. If I have to put on a suit, I'll put on a monkey suit for a little bit, but I still carry a firearm, right? And I'm going, if someone sees it, that's great. Or am I carrying it behind my back? Or am I carrying it differently? But typically, my shirt's always untucked because there's always tools that I'm carrying. Yeah. And again, I work in commercial real estate, right? So it's a uppity, you know, bougie world where I'm sure I show up with a trucker cap and untucked shirt and people are going, well, who is this guy, right? But ultimately, the choices I've made sacrifice some other things. Trust me, I got plenty of blazers with cute little pocket squares. Right. But I choose not to wear those anymore because they don't help me carry what I need to carry.
Let's talk about the Charlie Kirk incident. Yeah. I mean, we don't know who did it. Like,
we're never gonna know who did it.
FBI, Israel, was it actually the left? Who knows, right? Yeah. We're never gonna know. But you can see a revolution across really the world because of this incident. Like, it's almost like a spiritual thing. I'll tell you, like, right when we found out he died, there's an American flag in that corner. And we turned on TV, found out he died, and the American flag just like spins around slowly. Like, I don't know what that was, but like it was too good to be like a coincidence. So there's something new that's happening. What are you seeing?
Well, again, things happen that cause us to wake up,
Yeah.
right? That cause us to look up and look at things differently. So this is what I don't want to turn this into a conspiracy theorist podcast, but what I'll say is we're never going to know who the real shooter was.
Yep.
Right? I've looked at the shooting from multiple angles, from multiple sources, and there's all kinds of stuff going on out there, right?
Sure. So with
AI
AI
the things
now,
I can tell you, it wasn't that guy and it wasn't a 30-06.
Yeah.
From that angle. That's all I can tell you. Everything else, go figure it out on your own. It doesn't matter. It doesn't change my purpose. It doesn't change my calling in.
Right. It's distraction at the end of the day.
And again, that's all it is, right? We're never going to know the JFK, MLK, Epstein, 9/11. We're never going to know, did someone actually land on the moon? We're never going to know that. Do I think someone did? No.
Nope.
But ultimately, back to your point is there's things that happen in our lives that cause us to wake up. And there's things that cause us to change things look at COVID. COVID drastically changed everything in our lives, right? Everything we do. 9/11 changed everything in our lives. Now we got to go through security and do all these things. And this situation with Charlie changed so much because people were caused to wake up. Now you could die for believing something different than someone else believes, right? Again, and we experienced that again with MLK and JFK in the past. But it's the first time our generation lives something like that, right? It's the first time that we have our youth. I mean, Charlie was part of waking up our youth and getting them to show up and to become more conservative and to open their eyes and see what's going on out there in the world. And so, there's even conversations as to, did they turn his memorial into a political event and all the... It doesn't matter, right? What matters is what is our purpose? What are we doing? How are we making the world better? And for us as Christians are we driving people closer to Christ? And you've heard me say that. In a situation that you don't know, am I getting closer to Christ? Am I driving whoever I'm dealing with closer to Christ? And the answer is no to either one of those. Then I know that what I'm doing is wrong.
Yeah.
And so those are the things we have to be self-aware and make decisions based off of those things. And so back to your point is I think there's more and more people that are awake to what's going on in the world. There's more and more people that have clicked enough times, back to your point, that are looking at the algorithms that are different. There's more and more people that are willing to speak courageously and boldly about what's going on. There's people that are step up and willing to put themselves in harm's way, if you will, to address some of these things. Because the days of intolerance are over, right? We can't continue to be tolerant because that's how we've gotten here, right? We can be loving and kind, but we're not called to be tolerant, right? We're called to be bold and courageous and strong and respectful, right? But ultimately, we've put up with way too much for too long, and we're paying the price for it.
What do you think is going to change from that, just in general?
I mean, I think ultimately we're going to see a revival to whatever you want to say that. We're already seeing that.
Yeah.
More people showing up at churches than they do on Easter sometimes. There's been more people being baptized. There's been, more of these schools wanting to open up chapters talking about conservatism. I think people have become emboldened, right? They're sick of it, right? They're no longer going to keep putting up with it. And so I think the most important part is just because we're waking up and we're being more vocal doesn't mean we're more radicalized, right? Or we're still called to be a voice of reason. We're still called to be controlled. We're still called to be loving. We're still called to be, kind. But it comes a point where, we've allowed too many things to happen, right? And so the way I explain it to men and have been is going, the battle you're not willing to fight is the battle your kids are going to have to fight. And if you want to be a coward and live a comfortable, meek life, someone's going to pay that price, and it's going to be your kids and your grandkids. And I'll tell you, there's men that are weak enough and pathetic enough and passive enough that they're going to allow that to happen because they don't want to be discomforted, right? They don't want to be inconvenienced. And so ultimately, that's what we're up against, right? Is we, as we're committed to do with UM and other, Rooted and other things we do, is we need men to go make other men. right? We need men that are willing to step up into fill father roles that other people didn't have, right? And again, I have an amazing father, but there's roles that he didn't step into that I had to learn from somebody else, right? There's roles that I got to step into with you because unfortunately your father's not with you, right? And so we need people to step into those roles. We need people that are willing to be bold and courageous and strong, and people will see that, right? I mean, that's part of it is there's a presence that comes with these people.
Yeah, I think like for my generation or the generation like right underneath me, like do exactly what I did, right? Like I lost my dad at 19, but I went out and I seeked other help. I went out and I seeked other father figures. I seeked other mentors. I got people pouring into me. You know, I seeked going out and shooting guns and taking boxing lessons and doing like principal savage military training. Why not you?
And that's just it is the opportunities are there. The people are there. The people that want to help are passionate and they're there. But ultimately, we have to be willing to step out and want something different.
Yeah.
We have to be willing to be uncomfortable. We have to be willing to be consistent.
Yeah.
And we have to be willing to continue. You know, I use it all the time, but it's so funny. I mean, the quote from Spider-Man, to those who much is given, much is expected. And that's the reality is the more we have, the more we're expected to give. And that happens. It's not just financial. It's not just intellectual. It's not just emotional. It's in every area. It's going, how are we helping raise more good men, right? And this is not anything against the women, right? The beauty of it is raise good men, you raise good women. And so the problem right now is if you stop and you look at statistics, how many men, boys, are raised in a single family household? Or a single woman household, sorry, right?
Yeah.
How many of those boys then go to a school that is predominantly taught by female teachers or feminine men, in some cases gay, or living alternative lifestyles? Or the other side of it, how many have, coaches that are just tyrants? And again, I want to be clear. That doesn't mean that there's not good people in those those places, in those spectrums. But ultimately, the amount of, if you look at the percentage of good men that are teaching at these schools, or men, period, it's very low.
Very, very
right?
low. Yeah.
And some of those, would say they're men, and some aren't.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so we've got to step back and go, this LGBT, ABC culture that we live in where people don't even know what they are. I mean, it's just affected our youth so much, right?
Yeah.
And so we're trying to teach our youth that they can be empowered and step into certain roles and do certain things. But the people that are teaching them and are doing it can't even look in the mirror and know what they are.
I mean, the world's like literally the basic premises of biology is in question.
Well,
that's what we're living in right now.
If you let's and we're not going to harp on this, but if you look at LGBTQ, what's the B stand for? Bisexual. So that means part of the letter they even use in their description says there's only two genders. So literally, you're arguing your exact premise based off of even your explanation of what you are. Right? At least remove the B if you want to come up with 72 different ideas of what your gender is.
Yeah.
And I say 72, but it's probably more than that now. I
don't even know. They carry around signs with pride on them. Like you go back to the Bible, what's the first sin ever committed? Pride.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
And the rainbow flag was God's promise to us, right?
Another one is your iPhone. Yeah. There's an apple on it with a bite out of it. Yeah. Pretty crazy. Just saying.
Yeah. Again, evil's not hiding anymore, right? I mean, it's outright. They're boldly in the open. It's, and I think that's the saddest part about it is we've gotten complacent to it. Again, full circle back to Charlotte. If you sit there and watch the video, those people don't even respond and react like they sat there like this is something they see all the time, right? There was no shock. There was no, any type of reaction that you're going, oh my gosh, that person responded in any type of way other than, it's just another Saturday night in Charlotte, right? And it's so sad, right? And that's why some of our our environments, our neighborhoods have become so desensitized is because they see it all. Oh, it's just gunshots, no big deal.
Yeah. How about from like the woman's perspective? Because you look at that girl in Charlotte, and she had no self-awareness, right? I mean, we're not blaming her by all means. Like, feel super bad for her, but that also could have been like maybe it didn't happen if she was aware. Yeah. So what message do you have for like the woman to be like more self-aware when they're going out in the city, or like they're single and they don't have a man to protect them and be aware for them?
The saddest part about the world we live in today is that we even have to have this conversation, right?
Yeah.
And that I have to preface what happened doesn't make it okay because we live in this world that we have to worry about these things. Yeah. But she has ownership over it. I don't care what anyone says. I'm bold enough to say she has ownership over what happened, right? She should have never put herself in that position, right? It sucks that she has to think that way. So I would be extra clear about that, because there's someone that could be like, oh my God, he said it was okay because she sat in the wrong seat. No, Karen, that's not what I'm saying. Literally, she could have walked up and sat somewhere else where there wasn't someone behind her. She could have gone to another location where, or even like if you took that seat, turn your back against the window so you can see what's going on in front of you.
Yeah,
right?
But most women don't think that way.
Most people don't think
most
away.
People don't think
it's
that way.
Not even that, right. But that's part of that self-awareness. And so it's the same thing that applies for man. But what can a woman do different is be aware, right? Understand that we live in a very dark and horrible world, right? Look, I could even go as far as saying, I don't know, clearly she was a server. I don't know what kind of money she makes, but how much more would it have been to take an Uber home, right? Where you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
Be aware of where you put yourself in what situations and how you put yourself in those situations, right? The other part is you have to be prepared to some extent too, right? I mean, not that even if she was carrying a firearm or some kind of tool, she couldn't have done anything in that situation because she put herself in a vulnerable position where she could, literally, I could pull it up and it's my third picture in. The look on her face, she's looking back and with like complete, utter shock at what had happened, right? And it's not just her. That would happen to any of us if someone walked up behind us and slit our throat. And so ultimately, it's going the self-awareness, the being prepared, part of that too falls in all those categories. The clear understanding of knowing the world we live in and knowing the dangers of it. And, and unfortunately, I think in her situation, and this is just me processing through it, not knowing the exact situation, but I know she left the Ukraine, which is a very violent environment, according to what, we're told. And so that's why she came here. Well, does she feel that much more safe here that she didn't have to worry about it? Possibly, right?
Yeah.
But again, distractions, the self-awareness, and you have to be aware. You have to be present. You can't be distracted, right? The looking down at your phone, the closing your eyes and taking a nap.
It's the same thing for men.
Without a doubt.
It's the same exact thing.
Without a doubt, right? You asked for women specifically, so that's what I'm answering.
I know. But yeah, it's all those little things. Or even when you're traveling with a man, like I think the man's job, like make sure she's not walking on the side where the cars are, right? Make sure you have visual of the window. Yeah. All these little things. Don't take her down the ghetto, right? You're one guy. You get 5 guys and you're not going to be able to take them all, right?
And it's even funny. It's even interesting things like this that I've learned is if you're walking into, we're used to you hold the door for a woman. Well, if you're walking into a room or a restaurant or somewhere that you don't know what's on the other side, you actually walk through the door first to make sure what's safe is on the other side. Whatever's on the other side of the door is safe, right? Yep. And so some people don't. I didn't know that. Right.
Sure. Yep.
The other one is I always wondered, okay, so when you go into one of those turnstile doors, who goes first, right? Well, you go first, so you push the door and she doesn't have to ever touch the door. But it's just little things like that sometimes we don't think about. We're like, it's easy to confuse all those things. But it's just little things like that the only reason you know that is because someone that is more experienced and capable has basically shared that with you, right? How do you know that the most capable man sits looking at the door? Someone tells you that, right?
Yeah.
How do I know it's not okay to ask the waitress for a cup of coffee for you? Because now emasculated you. If you want coffee, you ask for the damn coffee. I don't need to ask for it. You got a voice, you got capabilities, right? Yeah. But that's something we learned. And again, drastic example for people, but the way you do one thing, you do everything is what we're taught. And so, I mean, same type of thing is, are you having the conversations with the right people? Are you surrounded with yourself with the right people? Are you asking for help from the right people? I mean, for whatever reason, you know, a half dozen plus men decided calling me was the right thing to do after they saw these videos. To ask what they could do differently.
So obviously people are waking up.
Well, they're realizing what world we live in.
Yeah. But eventually they're going to get distracted again, at least most of them.
That's a choice, right? And then there's those of us that are not getting distracted again. We're becoming more awake and more capable and more willing to go out and continue training and preparing the masses, right? And again, it goes back to, I said it earlier and I'm going to say it again. It's not because some of us are the most capable, but we may be the most willing, and we are certainly the most capably willing to put people in positions where they can go learn, right? I've got the resources for people to go train under people that they need to be trained under for certain situations, right? And so that's just part of it is, you know, are we willing to help each other become better? And sometimes it's not because we're the person training it. It's because we're the person pointing the direction that we get to go train with them and become even more capable ourselves.
Anything else you want to talk about?
No. I mean, I think we just need to end it with our job is to bring people closer to Christ, right? And to prepare people for none of us should be surprised that are Bible-believing Christians that we are where we are. The Bible literally talks about this.
Yeah, there's prophecies all over the place.
The Bible talks about this, right? And so it's not going to get any better, right? It doesn't matter who the president is. It doesn't matter who the governor is. It doesn't matter who the mayor is. It doesn't matter who your city council is. None of those things matter, right? We're actually going the opposite direction, where now those people we're going, are they telling us the truth? Or how much are they lying to us is really what the question is, because they're all lying to some extent. That's how they get into those roles. But ultimately, our role is to become more like Christ. Bring people to be more like Christ. And to prepare ourselves for Christ coming back, right? And I'm not saying it's going to happen in our lifetime, but the closer and the older we get, the more we're going to get closer to that date. And so the more difficult things are going to be. And so what are we leaving behind? What legacy are we leaving, right? Again, the 20-year difference between you and I. I know I'm leaving you way more capable than I found you, right? 100%. I know that that's my job with as many men as I can touch. And that's why I travel as much as I do, right? That's why I get to touch as many of these lives. And I don't know how long that season is, but when that season ends of me traveling 130, 140 days a year, God's going to bring those people in my path wherever I am. And so it's the same way for you. You get to touch lives here in Franklin, Tennessee with the men that you run with. I got to meet a couple of them last night at church. And how are you filling that role, right? What are you doing to make those people more willing and capable, right? And you're having the conversation and you're showing them, you know, what you're willing to do. You're using your platforms like this. That's the key, right? But ultimately, we are called to bring people closer to Christ.
100%.
Period.
I think to conclude, like if you want more, if you want to become more capable, more dangerous, become more like Christ, reach out to one of us. We have events that we can send you to. We have events that we run. We have places that we can send you. Bible studies, churches, whatever. So there's actionable steps right in front of you.
I mean, there's programs all over the country of ways to make you more capable. And sometimes it's easy. Look at Red Cross and go take a first aid class, right? I mean, it's as simple as that. I mean, that's easy, right? I'm not sitting here telling you have to learn to go shoot a firearm and to pack a wound and do all. I mean, where do you want to start? But ultimately, before that, I mean, the start is looking in the mirror and going, am I willing? And if I'm not, why am I not willing to? And I think it starts with that conversation of, you know, we weren't meant to live this meek, gentle, passive life that so many of our men are doing, right? And so, I mean, I think those are some of the questions is, were you really meant to wear a medium shirt and skinny jeans? I'd probably tell you if you're married already, you shouldn't.
That's fair enough. Anything else?
That's it.
Cool, man.
Appreciate the time.
We'll sign off. Appreciate you, brother.
Love you.
Let's go. Let's get out there.
should probably delete that other part for a second.